Hello friends, Indian Economy 1950 to 1990, Class 12, Indian Economics Chapter 2। तो आज यहाँ पे मैं आपको इसके फुल नोट्स देने वाला हूँ। तो मैं हूँ विशेष गोयल और आप देख रहे हैं मेरा चैनल विकी वर्ल्ड। तो आपका बहुत स्वागत है। तो यहाँ पे फिर बिना टाइम वेस्ट किए जल्दी से शुरू करते हैं। The Indian economic planners envisaged an economic system which combined the best features of socialism and capitalism, thus forming the mixed economy model. The Planning Commission of India was set up in 1950 with PM as its chairperson. So now let's discuss what is an economic plan. Plan is a document showing detailed scheme, program and strategy worked out in advance for fulfilling an objective. India opted for economic planning through 5-year plans to achieve the common goals. Planning was also undertaken to sustain political independence and generate economic prosperity. Without goals, planner would not know that which sector of the economy should be developed on the priority basis. So now let's discuss the objectives or goals of economic planning. The common goals of 5-year plans are growth, modernization, self-reliance and equity. The first one is growth. Increase in GDP means increase in the level of output in the economy. When the increase in the flow of goods and services is consistent over a long period of time, it's called economic growth. Thus, GDP growth leads to economic growth. Increase in GDP depends on two factors. The first is increase in resource base of the country. Second, increase in the productivity through innovative technology. Planning in India is to ensure that natural resources are fully explored and production technology is continuously improved, so the GDP growth achieves momentum. Second one is modernization. It refers to upgrade and adaptation of modern technology in the process of growth. There are some examples. The first one, green revolution in Indian agriculture. Second, IT revolution increased GDP through BPO. BPO means business process outsourcing. Third, conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom means change of old mindset to new. The conventional wisdom must give way to modern outlook like women empowerment. The third is self-reliance, means reducing dependence on import of those goods which can be produced within the country itself. India wanted to be self-reliant. Basically, it wanted to be self-reliant in food grains, fall in foreign aid, rise in exports, rise in contribution of industries in GDP. Fourth one is equity. Economic growth is meaningless if the benefit of growth is acquired by a handful of people in the society. Growth has no place in society where rich becomes richer and poor continues to struggle. Benefit of growth must spread across all sections of the society so that distribution of income becomes equal. The fifth and the last, which is an extra one, is the full employment. It refers to a situation in which all those people who are willing and able to work at existing wage rate. This one is the social objective of planning. The objective of full employment focus on inclusive growth. More and more people should participate in the process of growth. Benefits of growth must be shared across wider sections of the society. So now the next topic is land reforms. It refers to ownership of land holding by abolishing intermediaries and fixing maximum size of land that could be owned by an individual. Need. Large number of people in the country engaged in agriculture and to attain equity in agricultural sector. These reforms were implemented in the following manner. First, the abolition of intermediaries. It meant that tenants were free from the exploitation done by zamindars. Due to this, approximately 2 crore cultivators came into direct contact with the government. Second, ownership of land holdings. The policy of land to the tiller was undertaken so that the cultivators could become the owners of the land, which provided them with an incentive to improve output levels. Third, land ceiling. It refers to fixing of maximum size of cultivable land which could be owned by an individual. It was undertaken to promote equity and reduce concentration of land in few hands. Fourth was consolidation holding. Consolidation means to allot land to the farmers at one place as a replacement for his scattered holdings here and there. It saves the cost of cultivation. It had some drawbacks. First, the goal of equity was not fully served. The zamindars took advantages of loopholes in the legislation. They falsely claimed to be the self-cultivators to claim the ownership of the land. The poor agricultural laborers did not benefit from this. Land ceiling also faced hurdles. The big landlords delayed the registration of land. They registered land in the name of close relatives and thus escaping from the legislation. In spite of all the shortcomings, states like Kerala and West Bengal were able to successfully implement these policies because the state government was committed to the policy of land to the tiller. Other states did not have such commitments. So the next topic is Green Revolution. It refers to the large increase in the production of food grains resulting from the use of HYV, that is high yielding variety seeds, especially for wheat and rice. These seeds are of better quality, but they require the use of fertilizers, pesticides and adequate irrigation facilities. All these things should be employed in correct proportions for higher productivity. Reasons for implementing. There was low and erratic growth due to use of old techniques. There was serious droughts for 2 consecutive years due to monsoon fell short. There was a war with Pakistan. USA denied PL 480 imports. Benefits. The first, increase in market surplus. A good proportion of rice and wheat produced during the Green Revolution was sold by the farmers in the market. As a result, income of the farmers increased. Second, decrease in price of food grains. The price of food grains declined in relation to other items used for consumption. This benefited the low-income group family. Third, buffer stock. Increase in crop production has been so substantial that India has started maintaining buffer stock of food grains. Fourth, self-reliance. India became self-sufficient in food grains by adopting Green Revolution. Now, India did not depend on other countries for import of grains. Challenges. The first, the farmers who could not benefit from HYV seeds required reliable irrigation facilities as well as the financial resources to purchase fertilizers and pesticides, which small farmers could not afford. Thus, Green Revolution increased the inequalities between small and big farmers. Second, in the first phase of Green Revolution, the use of HYV seeds was restricted to the more prosperous states such as Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh. It created regional variation. The HYV crops were also more prone to attack by pests, and the small farmers who adopted this technology could lose everything in a pest attack. Efforts by government to benefit small farmers. First, the government provided loans at a low interest rate to small farmers. Second, the government also provided subsidized fertilizers so that the small farmers could also have access to the needed inputs. Third, the risk of the small farmers being ruined by pest attack was considerably reduced by service rendered by research institutes established by the government. Despite implementation of Green Revolution, more than 65% of the country's population continued to be employed in the agricultural sector till 1990 to 91, because the industrial sector and service sector did not absorb the people working in the agricultural sector. Now, debate over subsidies. In order to make Green Revolution a success, the government had to provide subsidies on fertilizers so that the farmers get encouraged to adopt the new HYV technology. Points in favor of subsidies. Any new technology is considered as being risky by the farmers. So, it was necessary to use subsidy to provide an incentive for adaptation of the new HYV technology by farmers, especially small farmers. Most farmers are very poor and they will not be able to afford the required input without subsidies. Eliminating subsidies will increase the inequality between rich and poor farmers and violate the goal of equity. Against. But the subsidies were also misused by certain sections of the economy. First point. Subsidies are meant to benefit the farmers, but a substantial amount of fertilizer subsidy was also benefited the fertilizer industry. Second, the subsidies benefited the farmers in the more prosperous regions only. Third, it is a huge burden on the government finance. Next topic, industry and trade. The Indian industries and the development was the major focus of the economic planning of the second 5-year plan. Reason. First, economists found that poor nations can progress only if they have a good industrial sector. Second, industry provides employment which is more stable than employment in agriculture. Third, it promotes modernization and overall prosperity. The public sector was given a leading role in the industrial development, while the private sector could only supplement the efforts of the state sector, with public sector leading the way. Reasons. First, at the time of independence, Indian industrialists did not have the capital to undertake investments in industrial ventures required for our economy. Second, the market was not big enough for industrialists to undertake major projects even if they had capital. Third, it was the socialist pattern of the economy which gave a complete control over the Indian industries to make the economy develop. Next topic is Industrial Policy Resolution, that is IPR 1956. This resolution was adopted in second 5-year plan, and this plan was based on the socialist pattern of the economy. Under this, the industries were classified in 3 categories. First category comprised of industries which were to be exclusively owned by state or government. Second category consisted of industries in which the private sector could supplement the efforts of the state sector, in which the government had the sole responsibility of starting new units. Third category consisted of the remaining industries which were to be in the private sector. Why and how was private sector regulated under IPR 1956? Industrial licensing is a written permission from the government to an industrial unit to manufacture goods. No new industry was allowed unless a license is obtained from the government. It was easier to obtain license of industrial unit established in an economically backward area. The purpose was to promote regional equality. License was needed even if an existing industry wants to expand output or diversify production. Aim to ensure the quantity of goods produced was not more than what the economy required. Next is promotion of small-scale industries. In 1955, Village and Small-Scale Industries Committee, also known as Carver Committee, noted the possibility of using small-scale industries, that is SSI, for promoting rural development. A small-scale industry is defined with reference to the maximum investment allowed on the assets of a unit. In 1950, the maximum investment allowed was Rs 5 lakh, while at present the maximum investment is Rs 1 crore. Government promoted SSI because they are more labor intensive and generate more employment. Now, how government promoted SSI? SSI cannot compete with big industrial firms. So, first, production of some products was reserved for SSI. Second, they were also given concessions such as lower excise duty and bank loans at low interest rates. The next topic is import substitution policy. It aimed at replacing or substituting imports with domestic production. Since the public sector was dominating the economic policies, therefore in order to boost domestic industry and encourage domestic production, this policy was adopted. The Indian industries were not in a position to compete against goods made by Britain. Example: instead of importing vehicles made in a foreign country, industries would be encouraged to produce them in India itself. Thus, government protected domestic industries from foreign competition. The 2 ways to promote ISP, that is import substitution policy. First, tariffs. Tariffs are tax imposed on imported goods. It makes the imported goods more expensive and discourage their use. Second is quotas. They specify the quantity of goods which can be imported. As a result of imposing tariffs and quotas, imports were restricted and therefore the domestic industries were protected from foreign competition. Positive effects. Diversification of industrial sector. Now India was not restricted to only cotton and jute textiles. Second, promotion of small-scale industries. The promotion of small-scale industries, this is SSI, gave opportunities to those people who did not have the capital to start large firms to get into business. Third, development of indigenous industries. Protection from foreign competition enabled the development of indigenous industries in the areas of electronics and automobile sector which otherwise could not have developed. Drawbacks. First, inefficient functioning of the public sector. One of the major drawbacks in the industrial sector was the inefficient functioning of the public sector. Many public sector firms incurred huge losses but continued to function because it is difficult to close a government undertaking even if it drains the nation's limited resources. Second, excessive regulation of industries. The excessive regulation of the permit license Raj prevented certain firms from becoming more efficient. More time was spent by industrialists in trying to obtain a license rather than on thinking about how to improve their product. Third, no incentive for producers. Due to restrictions on imports, Indian consumers had to purchase whatever the Indian producers produced. The producers were aware that they had monopoly, so they had no incentive to improve quality of their goods. As a result, a lot of other problems culminated together, led the government to introduce new economic policy in 1991. तो ये चैप्टर तो यहीं पे ख़त्म होता है. नोट्स और इतनी मेहनत के लिए एक लाइक तो बनता है, और बाकी तो अगर आपको वीडियो पसंद आई हो तो कमेंट, शेयर, सब्सक्राइब और बेल आइकन प्रेस कर लो. मैं बोलता हूँ अपनी अगली वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए टाटा बाय बाय एंड थैंक यू.